If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
We welcome Sue Spence to Horse Chats today. Now, Sue's another equine educator, and she's going to talk to us about horses helping human. But before we go too much into introducing Sue, I'd just like to remind you that if you'd like to work in the horse industry but not sure where to start, then have a chat to our friendly team at internationalhorsecollege.com. With the wide variety of horse courses from complete beginner through to qualified professional with students in over 20 countries, we'll be able to consider your individual requirements and guide you in the right direction. We consider your previous learning and qualifications and give you RPL or recognition of prior learning when it's needed. Simply go to internationalhorsecollege.com now to start the conversation. Registered Training Organisation 31352. Now, going back to Sue. Sue, welcome to Horse Chats.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Sue, we normally get people started just to introduce them. You know, I've already said Horses Helping Human, which in itself is a great name, great for the brand, and, we can talk about that. But from there, your favourite motto, either your motto or your favourite inspirational saying, what you say to yourself, what you say to others, or just something that you live by. What have you got for us today, Sue?
Oh, look, what my whole life and my whole Horses Helping Humans is based on is that there should never be any fear or intimidation in any sort of communication. There should only be trust and respect. And that goes for whether it's animals or humans. I think if people can start to, think about that, and a lot of people get uncomfortable when they hear that because a lot of them feel very intimidated in some communications, whether their horse is intimidating or the humans they work with or live with. So all of our teachings stem from that foundation of that saying.
Yeah, I think that sort of motto is absolutely brilliant and almost speaks, well, this is exactly the sort of person that we need to have within equine facilitated learning. But before we talk about equine facilitated learning, just a little bit briefly about your background. Sort of, you're a show competitor, show jumping, eventing, and then you went on to work in natural horsemanship. So can you give us a bit of an overview on what you did in those areas?
Oh, look, my passion was always jumping. So I grew up in the South Island in New Zealand. So we did a lot of cross country over there, which is, eventing. And because I did a lot of one-day eventing, then I had to get the focus to do show jumping, and also, which was very challenging for me because I have autism and ADHD, I had to put dressage into that component as well if I wanted to do my cross-country sections. But
it's almost like you've got to do your dressage to get around the course to be allowed on the cross-country course.
Exactly. So I had to do my homework before I got my, reward. And there's some of the skills, I'll talk about them later on, some of the skills I teach with how to focus in a dressage test when you're ADHD, goodness gracious me. But my love for competing, but I was very fortunate growing up in the South Island because for those who have been there, it's the most spectacular scenery. And, there we were off to horse shows every weekend and galloping through, at the foot of the Alps and doing, magnificent courses. But then, coming over to Australia, of course, I got horses straight away over here and just continued mainly show jumping at all the local shows. And it wasn't until I think I was 40, and I went through breast cancer. And in that recovery time, of course, I couldn't do all my, I call it hoon riding now because, I just used to love galloping and jumping and all this. I was in this recovery stage, and someone said to me, oh, you've got to come and see this demonstration of horsemanship, from these guys from America. And I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, shall I go and have a look at that? So up I went to Brisbane and watched it. And honestly, I've had horses all my life, but I had never seen that level of expertise and connection and communication between a horse and a human before. And it just absolutely captured me. So I started doing clinics with the horse I had then bought called Sunny. He was the most amazing horse. I lost him 2 years ago at the age of 34, but I had him for 21 years. And we embarked on, starting to do horsemanship clinics with some of the most incredible horsemen and horsewomen you'll find. And it completely changed my life. And that's where Horses Helping Humans came from, because I wanted to start sharing with others how much I was learning about myself, about patience and being really calm around my horse and being really focused and thinking always about the relationship before the end result. We're very competitive. I've always loved my horses. I've always, treated them with the best care. But it would always sort of be about winning. Oh gosh, I can't wait to win my trophy or win my ribbon. But all of a sudden, this just turned everything around, and the relationship came first. And it was such a beautiful learning thing for me. So when I say, yes, you can be a very, very good horse rider, but are you a horseman or a horsewoman? Because there's a difference. And that's what I learned. And it was the most privileged thing to learn in my life.
This learning, and you wrote a book, Horses Who Heal, is this sort of a longer learning? Tell us how the book came about.
Oh gosh, the book came about. It was an absolute surprise to me. So I'd been running Horses Helping Humans for a few years, and I had no idea that people were writing articles about what I was doing, because people call me the pioneer. That sounds really old, but one of the pioneers, because we're going back nearly 20 years now when I started, sharing what I was learning and helping with, self-regulation and being aware of your body language and all these sorts of things. So I didn't know that all these articles were being written about me. So I was ended up being interviewed for the Women's Weekly. That was the Project. I was on all these magazines, all these newspapers. And I get a call one day, and I'm out in the paddock with a group of students, about 6 young people working with our horses out there. And they said, oh, look, we need to have a talk to you. We're ringing from Sydney. And I sort of said, look, I don't have time to talk to you at the moment. I'm really busy working with my horses and children in the paddock. Can you call me back later? And the funny thing is, there was another lady here, another author, who was writing a chapter in her book about rescue ponies. And I had a little pony here that she was doing a story on the work that he does with Horses Helping Humans. And she said to me, what was that phone call? Was that Pan Macmillan you said? I went, oh, something like that. She said, you better get up to the house and ring them straight back, because it's the biggest publishing house in Australia. And they don't tell them. I went, oh, okay, well, all right. So I rang them back, and she said, oh, we've been reading all of your articles and we want you to write your story. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding. You want me to write a book? I said, I've got ADHD. I can't write a shopping list without losing attention. So with various ways of, trying to talk into a computer or talk into a recording thing, we actually, I had someone who I hadn't seen for 20 years. I taught her how to teach aerobics, because that was my other job. And she had become a court transcriber. So she sat on my porch while I walked up and down, and she just typed while I spoke. And that's how the book came out. So often I say, when people have amazing stories to tell and they go, oh, gee, I'd really like to tell my story, but I can't write, I go, but you can talk. Just do what I did and find someone who can amazingly scribe while you speak. It's still come out of your head. You're not a ghostwriter. It's actually all you. But that's how the book came about. And it's been really special to get so many messages from people that they go, oh, they've cried, they've connected, they've laughed. And how many people have shared the same journey, of what horses have meant to us and how they've changed many people's lives. Yeah, it's been beautiful to hear.
Have you got, and I probably should have prepped you on this, just a story, just something that you can say, well, look, horses have really changed this person's life?
Oh, gosh, there are so many, because a lot of the work that I've done over the years has been for Child Protection, Youth Justice Department and such. And we had a young boy, and he had fallen through all the nets and no one could do anything with him. He had what you call oppositional defiance disorder, which you use the wrong tone, you say the wrong thing, and the defence mechanism comes up quicker than you can blink an eye. He was on the spectrum. He had problems regulating his emotions. He didn't want to hear any authoritarian, discussions from anyone. So it was sort of his very last chance. He'd been through the courts. It was getting serious because he was, nearly 17, and he would have ended up, out of the juvenile system and into something a lot more serious. But he came here, and I only found the letter the other day, actually, that the youth worker had written, and he said he can actually name the day this young man's life started to turn around, and it was the day that he started working here at Horses Helping Humans. And so what I do with people that have a problem with regulating anger and frustration and defensiveness, I teach them about horsemanship. So when he was working with his horse, I was saying, now this horse, nothing about him. You'll be really careful because this horse can get really anxious real quick. So if you use the wrong tone or the wrong energy or the wrong body language, you're going to see his head's going to go up real quick and his neck's going to get really tight. And that's like when we get tight shoulders and a tight jaw and clench our fists. Then he's starting to pump adrenaline and he's thinking you're going to have a go at him, because he's had a bit of a history, this horse. So we got to fix that. You got to just relax and go, dude, I'm not having to go at you. I just want you to back up a few steps, So we were teaching him about how to stop and look at the situation and respond instead of react. Well, he, a couple of weeks later, he comes running down the drive to me because they call me Miss, and he goes, Miss, he goes, fair dinkum, he said, I went to get in a fight last night and I went to punch someone and I breathed out and I relaxed and I didn't do it. And I said, high five, you awesome horseman, because this is all about translating whatever we teach with our horses. And we're doing professional horsemanship here. And there's nothing that's not professional. And we're teaching them how to read, how to work on the ground, all groundwork. And for him to be able to start to stop and go, gee, I'm making that person feel like I'm having a go at them and I'm not really, is how it came about. So, yeah, that was when his life changed, and he went on and he never reoffended, and he ended up getting a job and, having a child. And he said to me, like, years later, he goes, like, if you hadn't have taught me what you taught me, with your pony, he goes, I wouldn't be the dad that I am with my daughter now. And I think the strongest message I have for especially males that come through here, or even people that have that really strong personality type, sometimes they think that softness is a weakness, but softness is your biggest strength. And often when Sonny was alive, I'd be working Sonny, and I'd be working with him, doing like flying changes and all that on the ground. And I'd turn around and I'd say to them and I'd go, look at me working with this, my horse here. He's a rig, he's full on. Look at him with me. We're just so connected and so relaxed. Do I look weak? And they go, no way do you look weak. And then I'd say, but how soft am I right now? So see how teaching people the difference, that fine line between there's tenacity, there's aggression, there's competitiveness, and then there's a softer focus. There's so many variations of energy, and how to tune in and actually get that, but be able to translate that to people that are struggling in life, who can then, and it's affecting their relationships, where they live the whole thing, and to see them then go forward and use those techniques in their human-to-human relationships. And you know what? We did an add up once here, and over 4,000 young people have come through my program in my tiny little arena here. And the stories, I could sit here for hours, because it's my biggest joy is to remember all the success stories like that.
You're putting forward a very good case to ask you back again, because we'd love to have you back again to talk about some of those success stories. Like people think that horses are just for riding or for competing or for, doing one particular thing, but let's let people know how much horses can really help humans. So I will contact you about that, about coming back on. But meanwhile, at Equitana, you're teaching on Thursday and Friday. Tell us a bit about what you're doing on Thursday, because you're talking about safety systems and structure, and that's within equine assisted learning or equine assisted therapy. I mean, safety systems and structure you certainly need around horses anyway, but tell us a bit more. This is very good because you're specialised here, but a bit more about this and the extra links that you go to as well within the equine assisted therapies.
Look, I think safety I'm really, really passionate about this, and I've been doing it for many years. And I think, some concerns were coming up when people would contact me and say, I'd really like to do the work that you do. That's basically why I became a licensed certified trademark, so I could train people up to the standard that we have. And, some of them would even been started working with clients and horses, but they actually didn't have any horsemanship experience. And some of them were rescuing horses like straight off a track or getting them from which is fantastic. There's about rescuing horses is absolutely, the
Heart's in the right place.
heart's in the right place. And I'm very passionate. I mean, I've got horses that have been rescued, but they go through a very, very high standard of training before I would ever let or allow someone with no horse experience to come near them. Does that make sense? So when I call about safety systems and structure, I go, if you're going to start working with horses especially and people, this is what I go into detail in my safety systems and structure, is that you need to have a really high level of horsemanship. So it's about safety, and it's about being a mentor to these people that have never been near horses and being able to set a standard for them. I mean, we've got such a great way of doing like an awareness talk. I don't call it a safety talk because people go, oh, it sounds like you've got all these rules, but it's not. It's just done with lots of laughter and making them aware of educating people that horses are, who they are. They're herd animals. They're not magical unicorns. They make us feel sometimes that our horse is a magical unicorn, but they're not. We've got to respect that they're horses, and we have to have a level of professionalism around them. So the safety around horsemanship, when we are looking at, we certify people's horses for this program, which we're the only people that do that. We have an amazing clinician, Mandy Probin, that now does that with me. And when we're looking at people like circling a horse, and they're going to be working with someone that's going to know horse experience, we've had videos come in where the horse's hindquarters are in on the circle and the head's up like a giraffe facing outwards, and then I've got this horse race, and I'm like, that is not what we call the circling part of our program. That horse's hindquarters are in, it's dangerous. The risk there. His head's right, the adrenaline's up, bang, his nose is pointed out. Any time you could just take off, that's adrenaline pumping right there. So we look for, low head carriage, conformation that's curled around, hindquarters that push out straight away. We look at all of those things, and I believe that very passionately that in Australia we need like a standard for working with horses at any level. And, I've said to all these people that have all these good intentions, look, this is great, your heart's in the right place, but I just advise go off and do some horsemanship clinics. Go and do some horsemanship clinics, come back in 6 months. I've got a list of people in your area. Go take your horse and you learn horsemanship, ground skills at a professional level. Then there's things like, it's not just your horse, it's also your environment. Some people have sort of set up and you've got to go past a barbed wire fence and climb through this and trip over. It's just that there's all the things. Oh my God. Honestly, I have this huge list of things. Just people go, oh, I didn't even think of that, or I didn't even think of this. So what I like to do after 20 years of doing this is to make it easy for people. I sort of had to learn as I went. And I know with the standard of things nowadays and risk assessments and our insurances, if you know beforehand, before you go to get into any work like this, that you've got your level of horsemanship, tick, safe, well-trained horses, assessed properly by professionals, tick, your environment, shade, shelter, all of these things, tick, whether it be first aid, where your toilet is, where your ice box is, it's all those things that no one ever thinks about. And all of a sudden they go, oh, thank goodness, wow, like we would have gone into that completely blind. So I suppose I like to, be a bit of a guiding light in this is what it really involves. And session planning, like people can't just turn up. You've got to have a good referral. You've got to figure out the referral, work out what you're going to be teaching in that session. Because even when we go to a horsemanship clinic, we might present, they're going, look, I'm really having a problem with my horse, backing up. Well, then you're going to work on the backup in that session. So it's the same as working with a human when you bring them in, right? Right, we're going to be working on this today. But they don't know that what's going on. It's going to be how we're going to train this horse. We're having a few issues with this horse, and this is what we're going to try and do today. Yeah, so lots of information around those things.
It sounds like you're not putting up barriers and creating problems for people, you're giving them solutions, but you're guiding them the right way to find the solutions as well.
Oh, absolutely. And, if you can set things up, it's everything you do behind the scenes that makes sessions flow effortlessly. You have, nice surroundings of well-trained horses. They're in great condition, that, you've got all your checks in place. It just flows from there, because you don't want any hiccups or last-minute unexpected things. So, yeah, let's get them all out the way, and then off you go.
And on Friday, you're teaching what we've already talked about, your love for making sure your communication skills are right, but you're teaching about communication skills and just everyday communication for humans, but also everyday communication for horses.
Look, absolutely. I mean, my program's based on the 4 temperaments, right? So I haven't humanized my horses. I horsenize the humans. So it's easier to say, are you a bit like Sonny? He gets cranky real quick. Or look at Mindy Pony, look at her body language. It's like, oh, too many people here. It's freaking me out. I can't say no. Or little Larry, he's already standing there ready to come into the arena to start work. Why? Yogi's off, he's seen people arrive and he's out of there because it's a work day. So it's based actually on the 4 temperaments like DISC. But what people don't understand is depending on your temperament, depending on your personality type, which we will quickly cover on Friday, is that you have a conditioned response when you're under pressure, and it shows through your body language. And every temperament has its own body language and reaction to the stress hormone. So if I can make everybody aware of that when you walk into the paddock with that conditioned response on display, you're going to get a different reaction from your horse. Or when you're riding, when you're getting ready to compete, how do you turn your adrenaline down if you're a person that just pumps adrenaline? If you're very anxious and you're very nervous and your horse literally runs you over at feed time, let's fix that. Let's be aware that if that happens to you, it's very possible that out in the world you have a problem saying no, that you don't have strong boundaries. So what can we do about your body language without making you aggressive? How can we make you look really assertive? Or, if you're like the sunny, choleric, leader who comes across too much, can be intimidating, how are we going to tone that down a little bit? If you're like the Yogi Pony, who he's great at doing tricks, but he doesn't like doing much work, that he's based on the sanguine temperament. So how are we going to teach you how to focus? How are we going to teach you to have some stillness so you can actually, achieve what you want to achieve with your horse or in your family or professional or private life? So it's just a great way for people to understand they don't know how they come across when they're stressed, because we're never looking in the mirror when that's happening. So I can help people with that. And then we have some great techniques, even with riding, how to deal with some of your clients, if you're already running horse businesses or you're a riding instructor and you're really stressed some days when people arrive. I can just give you some hints on very quickly what body language and breathing to do to turn your adrenaline down and open doors of communication, because people don't realise there's a lot of neuroscience behind our program. We have neuroscience, a lot of proof around body language and chemical production, that your body language is the precursor to what hormone your brain produces. So it's a fantastic thing to learn about and be aware that you can shoot up real quick, but guess what? There's some techniques. If you do the right breathing and adjust your body language at the same time, you can bring cortisol down very quickly and increase testosterone in those few moments. So very encouraging for people that have a little bit of problem with either being really, really nervous or get really, really frustrated, or just, mini me's and find it really hard to focus.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to Equitana, and hopefully it fits in with my schedule, because I think both of these are really good ones to go over. Just the safety and the structure and systems, just setting them up. And for people that have got businesses with horses, great to go to that. Communication skills, I think that's just for everyone, isn't it? It's, everyone can improve their communication. Everybody can improve their communication with each other, because we're not at the stage where we're reading minds yet. So, until that happens, I think we can improve our communication skills and just communication with the horse. Let's just keep working on getting that better and better.
Oh, it makes the world a better place if everyone starts to be aware of their reactions. Yeah.
But before we go, is there anything else or any other questions I should have asked you? Anything else that you'd like people to know? We'll talk about your contact details in a minute, but apart from that, anything else?
Oh gosh, no. That just I mean, thanks for giving me the opportunity to share what we do. It's been a passion now for all these years, and it's not going away. I'm really proud about how there's communities and areas that we never thought that the program would be available for those in need in communities, and even New Zealand. That is now starting to happen. So yeah, it's very exciting for me to hear all the stories that are coming back from other people, what they're doing.
So if people would like to find out more about Sue, just go to horsechats.com, and everyone knows that Sue will have her own page for this particular episode, and go there and you can search for Sue, search for Spence, or you can even search for Horses Helping Humans, because that should come up in the search terms as well. So Sue, we'll put your contact details on the page. How do you prefer people contact you? Is it by phone, by text, by socials? Just tell us a bit about that.
We have a great form on the website, so people can just email directly and it just comes straight through. Yeah, it comes straight through to us immediately. Yeah.
So your website is Horses Helping Humans Australia, is it?
Yep.
.com.au?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. We'll have, as I said, we'll have that on down the bottom of Sue's page anyway. So thank you, Sue, for coming. I'm looking forward to catching up with you at Equitana, and I'm also looking forward to inviting you back so you can tell us about some of those good news stories and the scenarios and, what you've been able to achieve with people, and particularly the people that really need the help. Thank you.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye, Sue.
Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com, registered training organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.